Hello, dear listeners. This is your host, Osheye, and this week we'll be releasing 2 episodes. The first is what you're about to listen to, the concluding part of our chat with Olagoke Balogun, the co-founder and CEO of SoFresh. Then on Friday, November the 26th, in celebration of the life of Olariwaju Fasasi, popularly called Sound Sultan, we will be releasing a bonus episode. So stay tuned for Friday's bonus episode. Until then, enjoy.
Like, I'm selling a cup of smoothie for 1,000. Like, I couldn't imagine it. That was easily my sales tripling. So if I sold 10 cups in Ogba and I sold 10 cups in Ikoyi, then it was tripling. So it was all, I said I went to take cooperative loan. There was no doubt. There was no doubt.
My father told me life is not a bitter road.
This is Origins Africa podcast, where we explore the origin stories of people who have made and are making their dreams come true, asking the what, the when, the how, and the why. I'm Osheye, and on this episode, the concluding part of our chat with Olagoke Balogun, the co-founder and CEO of SoFresh, Nigeria's pioneer and number 1 healthy food chain. We explore how Goke was able to navigate the trying period when he felt like quitting, the crucial roles data, business location, systems and standards played in the profitability and expansion of SoFresh, as well as his mistakes, general life lessons, and habits. Over the last episode, we talked about the early experiences and defining moments that formed the entrepreneur and leader Goke has become today. We also covered the early years of SoFresh up to when Goke felt like giving up and calling it quits.
So I called my wife and I said, baby, this thing is not working.
What year was this?
This was 2013.
Okay.
Early 2010. I said, baby, this thing is not working. And she agreed, but so we had a lengthy discussion. We call it the strategy session. It was happening everywhere, really, in the dining, on the bed, on the road, everywhere. But this thing is not working. We're spending a lot of, and I didn't have, I remember I said I didn't have a lot of business knowledge. So I was trying to say, this business should not make a loss. So I was giving money to the company. I wasn't accounting for it. So I'll just buy, if I buy raw material, I'll buy it so that the company will not make a loss. And I didn't even know that I could write it against the books of the business as a loan. So I was doing all of that in the beginning years. I didn't want this business to make a loss, So I was just supporting the business with money, when we needed stuff, but it wasn't covering its expenses. So after 3 years, I said, we've done this thing for 3 years. I think we should just pack this thing up. It wasn't making sense and all of that. And so about half year, we brought in an accountant. And
2013 half year, you brought in an accountant?
Okay, no, so not 2013. Okay, so we had an auditor before.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2013, I had a friend accountant that, has had a lot of experience in the banking industry. So I brought him to just come help us make sense of these numbers. And then I remember he did the numbers and told me that before we can start making profit, we needed to hit a particular revenue per month. Okay. And it was like times 4 of what we're doing. And I'm like, this guy's crazy. I really want me to get times 4 what I'm doing, right? Like, I didn't believe him. So this guy does the form stuff.
Okay.
So I said, okay, that's fine.
You didn't believe that you needed times 4, or you didn't believe
I didn't that times 4. Like, you know how you do, if you're not really knowledgeable, I'm like, no, if I can make, so maybe then I'm making like 2.5. If I can make 5 million.
You'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
He's not saying you need times 4. That's like 10 million.
No, he doesn't. He said that it was saying at the minimum times 3.
Okay.
I don't know if I can just double this revenue.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. Because I didn't even understand a lot about, COG, that's cost of goods sold, your inventory, cost of storage. Because if you increase revenue, so many other costs would increase, well. Right? So in my head it was, if I go from 2.5 to 5,
You're fine.
I'm fine. So of course I thanked the guy. The guy left, and I just told my wife, this thing will not work. I know, but she was like, yeah, she agrees it's not working, but maybe we should give it a bit more thoughts and see what we have done well. And so we sat down and then we looked at the last 3 years, what we have done. And we were just trying to make sense of the numbers, the pattern of buying. And that's why I tell entrepreneurs, no matter how little, try to collect data. The data we used to make decision in 2010 was really very simple data. So because we used a computerized sales system, we were able to see if the timing customers came into the store.
Okay.
We're able to know the frequency customers came into the store and all of that. And so we started noticing a number of easy trends. The mornings were completely dull. So in a day we made, let's say 50,000. The morning till about 5, we could make us 10,000. And then between 5 and 7, sales exploded. So we're asking themselves, these people buying between 5 and 7, where were they? It was easy to find out that they walked on the island. So it was when they started returning.
Just stop by before
started
going
buying.
home.
And then sometimes they will even call in the traffic like 7:30. Oh, guys, I'm on the 3rd Milan. Please don't close. I need to take my juice today and all of that. And that started giving us an idea that our customers actually walk and live on the island. Then a lot of them didn't walk. They lived around Ogba, but they didn't walk in Ogba. And then if we could go there, we could probably capture more of the customers. We also started looking at what were they buying more, what were they not buying more, and all of that. So we started changing. So we found out that, they want more ready-made meals.
Okay.
The ready-made meals, the juices, the smoothie, the fruit packs were doing well. So we introduced vegetable salads into the mix. So we were just looking at all those, little data we had.
How long did it take
to
look at the data?
Well, I wouldn't be. I mean, because it was just an ongoing conversation. We just pick it up. We just look at this and all of that. And then a crazy idea came, like, let's go to Ireland. I say it's crazy, but when I think back, I was trying to find the justification. Well, the justification was that we believed that we had more customers and more markets on the island. But there was one other incident that happened. So in 2012, the school my kids attended, same 2013, the schools my kids attended, they were having, it's one of these like premium schools. So they were having like what they call fun day.
Okay.
So they had opened it up for parents that had businesses to come and sell. So we went to sell our meals there, juices and smoothies and fruit packs. And because they gave us a very high bill for for the rental space.
Okay.
So why even should we go? One day we will not pay like 35,000 for space. How much are we going? Even in the store, we were doing maybe like 50,000. How are we going to pay for a space? We won't make profit, but let's go. It's an opportunity for us to meet new people and all of that. So we went for that event. So what happened in Antonio? The Antonio was very good. The sales we made in the store was more than in the event. Was more than the one we made in the store that day. Then we went for the one in Lekki. Now they charged us higher for the one in Lekki, but we still went. But we now told ourselves that we're not going to sell at the same price because what we paid there was almost double what we paid for the Anthony campus. So we said we're going to increase our prices. And then we had this long discussion. We were selling maybe juice and smoothies for like 300, 350 then, the cup. And then we said we needed to take it to 800.
Okay.
We're even scared. And then the exotic one would be 1,000. We're like, hey, we're going to bring this thing back home. So let's go. So we went. That was a revelation. Like, one, the guys loved it. They said they don't find this. This was 2003. They don't find these kinds of things where they can take freshly made, is made in front of them. The fruits are cut in front of them. They see the process. They have been looking for this kind of thing. The acceptance was really overwhelming. And guess what? It was the 1,000 naira option they were going for. I'm like, Jesus, I'm dead. Because in Ogba, we were busy always fighting with our customers. 300, 350 is too much. That much is orange. So that day, we left that event and told ourselves, and remember, I was not in Lagos. I didn't even know Lekki. I didn't know VI.
I see.
Because I lived on the mainland, and then I was working in the Delta area. So I just knew Ikoyi.
Okay.
And I just said, we are moving to Ikoyi. That was it. So we started searching for a space in Ikoyi. And that was what informed,
Okay. And this was 2013.
2013. And I said it was a crazy idea because business was still really tough. We were not doing well. We were making loss. We were not even breaking even. But we decided to now commit more money to get a space in Ikoyi, Awolowo Road, premium space. I had to go and take a cooperative loan at work to pay for the rent. Paid for the rent, did it up, and then by the time we're moving to Ikoyi, we had now changed the name
to SoFresh. Okay. So we say that event was like a validation or an affirmation.
It was a validation, yes, an affirmation of the data
Are you on the right track?
Trying to look out, yes, on the right track, yeah. Of the thing, okay, island. And a few of our customers also, I'm saying, you guys should come to the island. You will sell more on the island. All of it just crystallized together and we said, we're moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you still have doubts and fear?
At that point, that's why I didn't have doubts.
Okay.
I had all belief, like I'm selling a cup of smoothie for 1,000. Like I couldn't imagine it. That was easily my sales tripling. So if I sold 10 cups in Ogba and I sold 10 cups in Ikoyi, then it was tripling. So it was all, I said I went to take cooperative loan. There was no doubt. There was no doubt. I just believed the property. In fact, many stories. When we went, we're a very young couple. When we went to the property agent, he said, what do we want to do? So I wanted to do juicy smoothies. The guy dropped his head down and said, let me advise you guys. I have a property behind me.
Okay.
Just a small shop. I can give it to you. But you guys don't put, I can't remember, 3 or 3.5 million rent. Remember I said our sales in Ogba was over, and we're going to pay for 2 years and all of that.
Wow.
And instead of you doing this, I think this is too much for you. We will buy juice and smoothies and all of that. You guys should just, let me give you a space behind my office, 300, 200,000. We said, no, that's the place. We're still in that place. So
did your wife have doubts too? Or
No,
both of you were...
My wife don't do doubt. Once she says we're doing this, she's going. Yeah.
So both of you were sold to the idea
The guy, the agent had pity on us, was trying to convince us not to pay. We were ready to pay, But we said we're going, we believe in this and all of that. We've been doing this for 3 years now. We know what we're saying. And then, we paid and then we started and then, we launched the store.
Interesting. Changed the name to SoFresh, launched at Ikoyi, Awolowo Road.
Yes.
Then what happened next?
What happened? We went boom.
Just like that.
Practically just like that. So let me take a step back. So mid 2013, we also thought that we needed to have more knowledge. So we went to business school. We went to Enterprise Development Center. That's LBS. Okay. But they are enterprise arm. So we went to Enterprise Development Center and learned about doing business. And we were certificated in entrepreneurship. So learn about business, learn the language, operations, marketing, sales, strategy, all of that was new to me. And so that really, exposed, our minds into how to run a proper business, what it entails and all of that. So getting that business education was also, we did that just before we opened the Nicole. So I'll say we were better prepared.
Okay.
Still, in that school, somehow that late 2013, I got to know about Instagram. It was just a friend in middle school. He was doing Instagram, he's doing business. I said, what is that? He was the one that opened the account for me, opened the account for SoFresh. So by the time we opened in Ikoyi, we had more business knowledge. We knew about strategy. We knew about, the right market, how to target your market. We just knew a lot of things. So using all those knowledge, but most importantly, the location. So the location changed everything. People just started walking in. And in like 6 months, business was so good that we couldn't at that point undo 2 locations. And of course, business in Ogba had now gone down like half.
Okay.
Meanwhile, in Ikoyi, we were doing, remember, ×4. In about 6 months.
Okay.
Another funny story. And then when we did ×4, and then I looked at the numbers and I'm like, and then we started making profit. And I'm like, so this guy is a magician. So it was about when we hit that, the figure he gave, that was when
you started making
business really
profit.
turned around, which was about maybe 6 to 7 months after we got to it was just like we had always been there. Instagram was really, helpful at the beginning days. But
did you need to hire someone or were you managing it?
I was doing it myself.
Okay.
Where's the money to hire someone? I was doing it myself.
Sponsored post or?
No. It was 2013. There was not even a lot of people. Not too many people are talking about healthy living, healthy food. Not too many businesses. It was still really nascent. So the noise wasn't as much as, so you didn't even have to fight so much for attention. They have not started the algorithm like they are trying to do now. So it was just organic posts,
Okay.
And then because it was really new, that was probably the first fruit, vegetable, salad store anywhere in Nigeria. So people walked in, celebrities were just, wow, I just got a salad. So I remember a lot of, celebs would come into the store and then they would post on Instagram. It was new, so it was novel, and so people were just posting, and the thing was just going on. And it was so, like I told you, we couldn't manage, but I thought, Ogba, what is Ogba? 2014 February, I shut the door. And so it was really a fantastic move, and what really saved them. The business, that move. It was a gutsy move because we had to put in a lot of more funds. The rent was about 8 million altogether, but of course it was much bigger space. We had to renovate, buy more equipment and all of that, hire more staff, but it paid off.
You had to go big and take a risk.
Yeah. But of course, we took a risk, but you must also remember that we had some underlying assumptions behind it. We didn't just take it. We looked at our data. Even going for that event is also data. So it's not in the big data like they call it. There are just a lot of patterns you can look at and talk to people and all of that. So it was based on something. It was not just based on nothing. That I think this place,
And has it been a smooth ride since then?
It's never a smooth ride. It's never a smooth ride. And that's always my disposition when I tell people. I don't try to, it's never a smooth ride.
Now, it is one thing to launch an idea or product. It is an entirely different thing to build a successful company across 14 locations and still counting. So how was SoFresh able to scale successfully?
So in 2013, business started doing well, and
2014 you shut down Ogba, focused on Ikoyi.
Yeah, we shut down Ogba, and then people started what was it called? The customer base started growing, and then we now started having demand again on the mainland.
Oh, okay.
So we started doing deliveries to the mainland, but then that wasn't sustainable. Imagine bringing a pack of salad from Ikoyi to Adeni Jones or GRA. So it wasn't really sustainable. So we started thinking about, let's bring another,
Okay. This was 2014?
This was 2014. So in 2015, we opened Okwebi.
Okay.
In 2015. And then some new challenges, started showing up. Now you have 2 locations. You have to manage standards. You have to manage consistency. You can't be at one location all the time.
And you still had your full-time job?
I still had my full-time job. But as at this point, in 2013, by the time we came back from the US, 2011, thereabout, my wife wasn't really practicing as such. So she was fully in the business. Okay. I was doing 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. But of course, the 2 weeks I was around, I was fully involved. Still partially involved when I was away, of course. So she was fully focused on the business. And we had 2 locations. And so we had to, rethink the structure, the systems and everything. Staffing at the point in time became very challenging. Getting the right kind of staff, being able to motivate them to see the dream, see the vision, and do the things that was expected and all of that. So HR was quite challenging. And then you had to now deal with things around even just the macroeconomics. Yeah, I did again. So I'd learned my lesson in accounting, finance, but now I had to learn that the business doesn't operate in a silo, right? Mm-hmm. The macroeconomics or inflation, interest rates, I didn't know how it affected my business. And so you had to, plan and all of that. So even though business was good in 2013, by 2014, 20, I began to wonder, this thing is not making sense again. Now because you're spreading, you're creating more overheads and all of that. So, just managing all of that, became quite challenging. But of course, with the knowledge, I'd gained, from going to business school and just that quest to continue to acquire knowledge and know that in business, things doesn't just happen. You have to make it happen. You have to be deliberate about everything you do in business. So, we just continue to evolve and, grow the business. And, it's been a very interesting, could be very frustrating at times. For me, 2 things are the biggest source of frustration in running business in Nigeria. One is government, because a lot of the times it seems as if they are just 100% against businesses. And so you find that a policy direction always almost have negative impact on businesses. Today, SoFresh employs about 150 people. I remember a friend of mine that has a business in the US and he employs 20 people. He gets recognition from the mayor every now and then, but nobody even cares, right? When a government official comes, it's usually about something that's going to have a negative impact on your business. So for me, that's a big challenge. Infrastructure is also a really big challenge because now the business has grown to a point that every business is almost a local entity on its own. For every location, we have to provide power, we have to provide clean water because there is a minimum standard. So generating power, generating clean water, security on its own, it's really quite challenging. Sometimes not just in the cost of what you're spending to provide those services, but the time it consumes, for you to deliver that service, the time and even just time, effort, personnel. So right now I have, a group of people managing, power, power within the organization. Like, I don't want to manage power. I just want to sell fruits and vegetables to my customer. Just give me power, I'll pay for it. But then I have to, manage, power, diesel, the gen is breaking down, this is happening. So there's just a lot of distraction and disruption that you have to deal with every single day, just because you're running business in Nigeria. And that continues to be there. But of course, with focus, with the right strategy and the right team, you continue to weather that storm. But the truth is that it takes a lot from you, so you have a lot you're doing apart from even running the business. You're running so many other stuff.
Okay. So I heard you mention people being a challenge initially. So how have you now been able to solve that, picking the right people or right team?
Excellent. We just had to. So my wife had always had interest in HR, people development. So she tried to focus on that. She went to do a CIPM. She became a chartered personnel manager, and she started managing the HR. So we started thinking, what was the problem? Is it the people? Is it the system? They did provide the right environment, the right atmosphere for people to succeed. So it wasn't just improving the HR right from the hiring process.
Okay.
Did we have what we were looking for, or you were just looking for a staff to come and sell? For example, a cashier at SoFresh is very, very different from a cashier in other food restaurants or in a supermarket. Because when people walk into SoFresh, they believe that the cashier should have some basic knowledge around what they are selling. People don't go into, people don't go into a regular fast food restaurant and ask, is your rice LD? What does chicken do in my body? But people walk into SoFresh and they're asking cashier and assistants those kind of questions. Some people come, my son is constipated. What can he take? You ask me. So little things that we need to ask ourselves: what is the right kind of people to have on the team?
Okay.
What does each role require and all of that? And these are questions you must ask yourself as an entrepreneur. And so we started doing that. We went back to the squad. What is the job description? Who fits the person? So job specification, person specification, the kind of environment the person needs to work in. Settle that. They went on to, change the hiring process, prioritize training.
Okay.
And then induction. So before you can step a foot into any SoFresh outlet to work, you must have done minimum of 1 month training.
Okay.
Intensive. The first 2 weeks is classroom. The next 2 weeks is practicals in we have our own small lab. And then you now go and piggyback in an existing location. So we prioritize training, and then not just one-time training, which are some of the things I learned where I'd worked, was continuous training.
Okay.
So we just, kept on improving the system, developing the system, and, and then of course also realizing that, employees are partners.
Okay.
In the business. And so they must become part of the business. In fact, at a point in time, we sat down and we redrafted the goal, the vision, the mission, the values together with our employees.
Okay.
Not what we handed over to them. We're not calling them, you guys are here now.
Okay.
What are we doing together as a team? What do we want to achieve? So a lot of the people on the team today now, they are part of birthing what the new SoFresh is looking like. The expansion you see today, for example, was not what myself and my wife only sat down together to draft. It was a joint effort. So there's commitment, there's ownership. Yeah, so it's just a lot of things, that has gone into it over the years. And we'll continue to improve on that system. I think that's another thing I've learned about business, that it never stops. So if you're not ready to keep on growing, keep on evolving, what you did last year, 2 years ago, if your business is growing, will become irrelevant or not sufficient to get you to that next stage. So you must be constantly looking at it, constantly looking for, which is one of the key roles of the CEO or the founder, to say, I'm here today, I want to grow by 2x. what am I going to require in terms of new policies, new structures, new employees, new types of financing, and just, logistics, everything around supply chain. How is it going to change? What kind of expertise? The people you have now, are they able to meet the demands, in 2 years' time when you have grown? If they are not able to meet the demands, are there loopholes you can cover by sending them for training and all of that? And of course, we also prioritize internal growth and development. So we encourage that a lot.
Okay.
So, but when the need is there for us to bring in people from outside, we do that as well. So yes, just all of that, has come to really fine-tune that aspect of the business. And, so it was a lot of work, but it's really paying off. People ask, so this morning I'm just coming from our newest store, which is the 13th store, Lekki B. We have another one, Lekki Phase 1A, now we have Lekki B. And it was opened last week, Saturday. I had not been there.
Okay.
But I went to do something else in Ajah early this morning. I just said, let me stop by. And my friends will ask me, you've not been? I say, I don't need to be there. They know what to do. They can do it. I mean, I'm not going to have to be in every store. I will not have to even see every store before it opens. So it's just, a lot of work, constantly working, and then it starts really paying off.
Okay. So where does the training happen, by the way, the induction and all?
Okay, so the induction happens here in the head office.
Okay.
So
you use the conference room?
They come in 2 weeks. We tell them, first of all about the company, the history, our values, our goal, why we're doing this and all of that. And then all the basic training like customer service, sales, communication, office etiquette, because we found out that, a lot of people come in, either from even the university or, some OND, secondary, they don't have some basic, knowledge.
Okay.
So we spend the first 2 weeks reorientating, telling them how we conduct our business at SoFresh and all of that, what we prioritize, what is important. We have not even started telling them about the work they are doing.
Okay.
Just SoFresh and all of that, trying to, acculturize them. And then after that, they now start doing role-specific training.
Okay.
So if you're employed to work in the store, you're doing production training, you're doing, food safety, quality management, you're doing all of that. If you're a manager, you go to the next level to look at, reporting, SOPs and all of that. HR also takes them through our HR guidelines, all of that. Then when they finish that, so after the role specifics, then they now attach them to someone, a more senior person, to train them, now have practical experience. All of that takes about a month, 6 weeks, depending on what your role is.
Okay.
And then...
what's the management team structure like? How many people?
So we have 7 management staff, top management level, and then we have like the next level, around 10 people, around 20 people, and then we have, the rest of the team.
Okay. Interesting. Why is the headquarters Okpabi, by the way, and not, for instance, Ikoyi, where...
So Ikoyi is just a shop space. There's no office space. So when we came to Okpabi, we intentionally took this bigger space. So the head office is upstairs, and then we still have a store downstairs.
Why didn't you consider the island for where your head office should be? Or it never came up. You just said to them.
So I live on the mainland, so it was it just made sense that I should put my office close to where I'm living.
Okay.
And then in 2015, when we came here, getting this kind of space in Ikoyi was going to be prohibitive for the business. So we didn't have money. So this just made sense.
Prohibitive? How do you mean?
In terms of costs.
I see. Okay.
I think the simplest thing was going to be because I lived here.
Proximity.
It just made sense too.
Okay. For your people, it's still just a curious question. So do you prioritize skills and qualities over educational qualifications? Does it matter if they are, for instance, secondary school leavers or they don't have educational qualification and that sort of thing?
So we'll prioritize skills and competence, and we try to design our interview process to bring that out.
Okay.
For us, your educational background is secondary. It's about what can you do, what you're able to do, and all of that. And the same thing with the system. We've had people that started as housekeeper, yeah, and today they are managing outlets.
Interesting.
Yes, within a space of 3-4 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they showed a lot of effort. They showed a lot of willingness to learn. We have about 2 or 3 within the system that way. Some people said that we have someone that started as intern recently. She was promoted to operations manager in 3 years.
Okay.
Intern, customer service, served as an outlet manager, and before you know it. So that's what we prioritize. It's about really what you can do. Even before you get into the system, once you get into the system, your degree is almost irrelevant. You can't tell me that I've gone for masters, come and pay me more. No. What is the master translating to? So that's
okay.
And that really works well, because then people know that yes, I came in as an OND holder, as an SSA holder, but if I continue to grow and develop myself, I have opportunities.
That's great. I know there have also been instances, or I think I'd read there had been instances of maybe some employees leaving and then they go and start something similar to making their own healthy food.
We've always had that.
Maybe when it first happened, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, so maybe, of course, when it first happened, when the business was still really small, I mean, it was like...
when was this?
First time... Maybe around about that 2014.
Okay.
Maybe a major one. Maybe around that 2014.
Okay.
Honestly, we didn't really feel... There wasn't a lot of impact, and we were never really bothered.
Why?
Because we didn't think there was a reason to be bothered. Yeah. I think the one that just kind of was the word I should use now. Very disconcerting. So we had a staff on the team, still in the team, and then running the business. And then the position she had was so that she could actually divert customers, right? Even though we didn't have a location there, but that was still, possibility. And when we found out, we did an investigation, we let the person go. But we always had that, every now and then. It's no big deal.
I mean, hadn't they learned the recipes, how you make stuff and stuff like that?
So there's more to a business than the recipe.
True.
And especially a business like SoFresh, the recipes are not hidden.
Okay.
We have a juice, it's watermelon and pineapple. You see it when you go to the web. Some people still come and try to steal or take pictures. I'm like, my staff will try to say, don't stop them. Just tell them to go to the website. You can download the menu.
Oh, so you've put it out there.
The menu's on the website for customers that want to order.
Okay.
So you see, I mean, I have a juice, it's watermelon, it's pineapple, it's lime, it's lemon, is there. That is just a part of the business.
True.
So many other things goes into making the business what it is. There's strategy, there's even the supply chain part of it. There's just so many things that goes into making that. There's how do you even achieve consistency, right? There's just so many things that, stealing the menu,
going to
amount too much. And you probably, even in this age, even the very technical things, people still steal it. So you have wars between phone companies, Apple, Samsung, not to talk of food. So the important thing is to know why you're doing this, have a purpose, have a strategy for capturing your market, and just stay consistent. You always have people that will always come and go. But it's about, it's way more than that. So I'm not bothered. The menu is there. There's no need for them to steal the menu book. Just make me spend more. Just go to the website and download it. But of course, we don't find we have our own measurements. We have our own method of preparation. There are some things that we're able to, kind of protect and minimize the amount of people that have access to it. But to a large extent, there's more to what makes the business than
Okay.
than just the products.
I heard you talk about the difficulty initially in trying to maintain standards as you expanded. So how were you able to fix that?
Create, levels of oversight function. So, for example, every SoFresh location gets to be inspected twice a week. So we have a food safety and quality inspection. We have an operations inspection.
Scheduled or anytime? They wouldn't.
Not scheduled.
Okay.
But every week you get it.
Okay.
So because things has to be done for standard, and then just now standardizing. So it was more around standardizing the processes. So if you ask someone to make a juice, an orange juice, how do you want that orange juice to be made at SoFresh? Not how you make it at home, right? So standardize that process. What should they look out for when they pick the orange? How should it be peeled? Right? Sometimes when I address new employees, they think it's a joke. If you don't tell someone how to peel orange, you'll be surprised that you walk into your store one day and your production assistant is peeling the orange with his or her hand. And these are things that happen. So if you find a procedure that you should peel an orange with a knife, you feel
isn't necessary. But
yeah. So again, looking at determining for SoFresh how do you want things to be done. So it was standardizing it, documenting it, training with it, retraining with it, and continuously reinforcing what we want to see. Is how we've been able to address that standard and consistent. Of course, the first step is that you must standardize it. So if you say I want orange juice, how many oranges, even from going to the market, there is a type of orange that needs to be bought. Because there are species of oranges, there are species of pineapple, there's a specific type, there's a specific size. So just in standardizing, even if it's service, you can always standardize service. Someone comes into your store, makes an inquiry, what are the questions, what the next thing you say, what don't you say, and all of that. So first of all, creating what the standard is, training with the standard, and then continuously improving the standard. So standards should never be set in stone for life. It has to grow, it has to evolve, it has to become better, and all of that. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. How did parfaits then come into the picture?
Parfaits. So 2015, SoFresh now came to Okwebi, and we had been with our customers in Ikoyi for about 2 years. So we're looking for what more interesting things that was fresh, was healthy, can we introduce to the customers? So we're just doing, lots of research and just thinking what else could we add. And then we stumbled on parfait. And another experience, traveled out again to the UK and had it in some of the stores. I said, this would be a great stuff to bring back. And basically that was it. We came back, started experimenting with, parfait, mixing fruits, yogurt, nuts. And when we believed that we found the right mix, we launched into the market. Again, it went boom. Like there was nothing like that. And of course, shortly before then, you started adding, proliferation of other people making parfait. But when we started, it was really novel. Many people did it in their own, but there was nobody doing parfaits commercially. And so we launched it. And that was what gave birth to. So we're constantly we've launched new products, we've stopped some, we've continued some. So we're constantly looking, to see how we can, create more options for the customer.
Okay.
But of course, it must always align with what we're doing: fresh, wholesome, healthy, and very nutritious.
So when you say you stopped, some customers stopped buying, or it wasn't as booming as some of the other products?
It wasn't as booming.
Were there some products you pushed out and then you had to take back in because customers immediately on the spot?
So not immediately. Over time.
Okay.
Yeah, over time.
In just a moment, we'll talk about Goke resigning from his full-time job at Chevron to focus fully on SoFresh, as well as the key lessons he's learned on his journey. Stay with us. I'm Osheye, and you're listening to Origins Africa podcast. Hi guys, catch our one-to-one newsletter where we share with you one lesson, 2 quotes, and 1 question from each episode published. You'll find it at originsafrica.substack.com. originsafrica.substack.com. If you like it, please click the like button, leave a comment, share with a friend, and subscribe. Also, you can now watch video snippets of some of our guest interviews. Simply go to Origins Africa Podcast on YouTube. Origins Africa Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like our videos, and share. Let's make a difference together, one origin story at a time. Welcome back to Origins Africa Podcast. So, at what point did Goke decide to resign from his full-time job and focus solely on SoFresh?
So I left in 2016. Another crazy move because then we just had 2 locations.
Ikoyi and
Akwebi. And then I left one of the best jobs everybody wants to do in Nigeria, left oil and gas. And up to now, many people still cannot believe that I left the job.
When you started, had you known that you'd be leaving your full-time job too?
So there was always that possibility. My mind wasn't made up. But along the line, I also got fed up of the job. I completely got fed up. It wasn't just what I found.
I mean, you were traveling. I'd assume that remuneration was great.
So
sounds like a great job.
The travels were really good. So those like combined 3.5 years were one of the best. One of my best years. Yeah, I loved. I miss that experience. You know, if you travel, not that I traveled though. I traveled on company's expense. So that's another life. Especially when you travel on another company's expense to the US, you know.
That is premium experience.
Yes, so. But, then the travel, then I came back, the travel, and the real work started. And it wasn't just what I found like real fulfillment and satisfaction. And there was always just that niggling feeling that I could do more than this. I could make more impact. It wasn't about making money for myself. I was doing that. Of course, I had to take a deep pay cut, even by the time I resigned to come and face business squarely with my wife, right? So, but yeah, it was a tough decision, but it was also an easy decision for me because I didn't see myself. I used to joke with my wife that if I stayed 2 more years on this job, they would sack me because I was like completely, up to the brim. And so we had that discussion in 2015, and she just gave me some sets of conditions that I had to, okay, I've had you come, no wala, but you need to do this. And so for 1 year, I just set my mind that I was going to, was it 16 or 17? I always forget. I think it's 16.
Okay.
I think it's 16. And I just focused on it, achieved those goals, and I presented my report sheet to my wife. And then said, okay, when you are ready, I'm ready. That was it.
Then you submitted the resignation letter. How did you feel?
How did I feel? I felt great. I felt relieved. Yeah, I felt good. I felt relieved. I felt like, and I can do what I've always wanted to do full time.
Have there been times you maybe had doubts or regretted?
No regrets. But last year, when COVID happened, I wished I had my job. Because I had to take very difficult decisions that affected the lives of many people. And business was closed down, people were closed down. It was a really tough year. And I'm like, I wish I had my job. I wish I didn't have to think about making these decisions and all of that. Yeah, but there are always times like that. But on the flip side of it, part of the things that give me the most joy is that I'm able to contribute, I'm able to make impact on not just, the over, 130 people that work for SoFresh now, but even many more, indirect jobs, artisans, technicians, vendors, suppliers, probably more than 300. So, I mean, that and being able to contribute, significantly to the economy, it brings that fulfillment. So, sometimes I feel like I don't want all this, while I don't have to want to think about all of this. But other times it's just great. So that's the way it's been for me. I know if that's how it is for every entrepreneur, but for me, it's like that constant. In fact, I think some weeks ago I was discussing with my wife that sometimes it's like, these are like multiple personalities are like.
I saw the tweet and I was going to ask you about it.
Right? Sometimes I'm frustrated, right? And then the next time I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. We are winning. We are going. I mean, yeah. So it's just that constant
balance and juggling between the frustrating periods.
Yeah.
What helps you through those frustrating moments?
I think having a great partner, someone I'm always able to talk with. We are always on the same wavelength. We're aligned, on the vision, the mission. I mean, she's not just my wife; she's my business partner. And we're very aligned. So that is a great stuff. Even before it starts like brewing, I'm already talking about it with her. So, and sometimes is when I am, feeling frustrated, she's the one, encouraging, and sometimes vice versa as well. Having a really good team, knowing that, you have these guys solidly behind you and, pushing, that's always really helpful. And, just really knowing how much impact your business or product has on the consumers. So you know that the market is out there, the potential is out there. So all of these things coupled together, just keeps me going.
So 2015 through, I guess, last year, you were profitable, and maybe because of COVID, was there a dip?
There was a dip.
But prior then, you had been profitable consistently since 2015.
Yeah, there was a big dip. We were still profitable last year, but there was a big dip. For some periods of the year were red. April till about June, July. But then once the lockdown was eased, we recovered, and we put. I mean, sales was considerably down, but was still profitable.
Okay. And now, how are things?
Things are recovering. They are actually not back to what it was pre-lockdown, but much better. Some stores are at that level. Few stores are doing better than during the lockdown. A good percentage are maybe about 80% thereabout. But I mean, we can see the gradual recovery. So, for example, a store like Ikoyi, many offices are still not back to full time around the Ikoyi VI, which is the big market for us there. So, a lot of companies still working from home or doing skeletal work or doing maybe 1 or 2 days in the office and all of that. So, but what you also find is that some sales have moved to more residential areas. So the stores in the commercial used to be really good for us. Some have now moved
to the residential.
So I mean, just that balance. But you can see the recovery is gradual.
Okay.
And we just keep pushing along those lines.
And it's simply you guys bootstrapping aside that cooperative loan you guys took in.
So in 2018, we got external investment.
Okay.
An impact fund.
How did that go? How did you hear about this application?
So I went back to EDC. I did a program sponsored by Oxfam.
Okay.
With another business training. And then they connected us to the investors. So they have a kind of affiliation. So that was how we got to know those investors. And then they invested, I always forget, about 360,000 euros. That's about $500,000 into the business. In 2018. And that's part of what has spurred
the growth and expansion.
Yeah.
How did you feel when the money dropped?
I felt good. It felt good. Like, really? I mean, and it was like, oh, so, this thing you have done it was almost like a validation of, everything we've done for like 7 years up until then. no, 8 years, 2018. So it really felt good for somebody to believe in the work, believe in the dream, and somebody from nowhere, from Netherlands, just say, take, continue to do your business. So it felt really good, felt like a validation, and yeah.
So you're looking to maybe get some investments?
Yeah, we'll raise investment and we'll continue to grow.
Okay. You guys were 10 years last year, and then looking back through the years, where you were last year, was that where you had in mind when you started, or had you exceeded what you had in mind, or was it below your expectations?
So, yeah, so where we were last year, maybe we were slightly behind the expectation when we started. And
what did you have in mind?
So it had always meant to be a very big company. As the last year, I expected we were going to have more locations, but we didn't open any new location last year, of course, because of COVID. So that was also, partly a factor. And then, of course, the first 6 years was really slow. And then once we'd gotten a lot of things in place, it was really after the 7th year that we started, growing and expanding.
Okay. So looking back through the years now and how far you've come, what words come to mind? Or what feelings or emotions?
What feelings, what emotions? Grateful, fulfilled, and just really excited that I'm still doing this and I'm doing it with my wife, and it's been a very interesting journey. So many highs, lows as well. But all in all, it's been a very rewarding journey for not yet the dollar rewarding. Yeah. That one is still coming down the line. Okay. But it's been a very rewarding journey.
Okay. Aside from maybe the lows you mentioned at the beginning, and what are some of the other lows, or struggles, or challenges that you faced whilst running the business? Are there any you want to share?
I guess I've shared about everyone that came to mind. There were other times, we had run-ins with government agencies, the Ikoyi, even the Okwebi store was closed, was locked. There was even just one we came to the store in the morning and they had come in the middle of the night because we closed around 9. That particular day we closed late 10, and then by the time we came 5 the next day, they had locked up the store, sealed it, just for frivolous reasons. And so those kinds of experiences, could really be frustrating. Hard running with every, running business in Nigeria, you just need to be really careful. One of our stores was closed down for a week because the sublessor and the original owner had some court issues we were not privy to, and then one night, the store was locked for a week. Yeah, so just continue. So as growing business, you begin to understand why a lot more things become at stake, and so things like legal becomes very important. Doing due diligence on every contract, every agreement you're going to enter, and all of that. So, yeah.
What did you learn the hard way?
The hard way, part of it will be marketing.
Okay.
Good products don't sell themselves, or they can only sell themselves so far. They will sell themselves, but maybe not enough. So I had to learn that. I'm still learning that. Understanding business. I just always say that business has a language, and you have to be able to speak the language for you to be able to run a business effectively. Maybe those two things.
Okay. And through the years, what would you say has been most helpful for you on the journey?
Again, I'll say my partner, the most helpful. I'm not sure if I was So I'm sure if I was the only one running this and I was working, I'd probably abandon. Like, why would I be, slaving myself is not working while I had a job? So I'm almost 98% sure I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have the kind of amazing partner that I have. That's probably the most pivotal on this journey for me. Also having supportive, family. Not all of them, very few of them, but even the fact that they're few, they're significant. And of course, the customers. So the reception has been overwhelming, and people believe, in the brand. They love the brand, So in those early years when we were not really prioritizing marketing, the customers went all out for us, even without us knowing. Again, because of the experience they had. So even up till now, our greatest marketing is actually word of mouth and referrals. And that's always been tremendous for us. And then, having a stable team, that believed in the dream and, interprets it correctly and is able to run with it, just makes a whole world of difference. Because there's just little, even if you're a genius, there's just so little you can do all by yourself.
Okay.
So if you notice, it's all about people. That's my partner, my staff, and customers. That's why we're here till today.
So coming to mistakes, I heard you talk about, for instance, accounting. There was that separating accounts and money and stuff like that at the beginning. I also heard you talk about doing, due diligence on deals. But what are some of the other mistakes you'd say you've made on your journey, which have now, in hindsight, become lessons, but were mistakes you made?
So location, maybe that was the first, mistake. So now we're very deliberate when we're looking for, stores, because it will make or mar a physical, a brick and mortar store. So your location has to be on point. I guess that's it.
Okay. Running business with your wife, partnership, there's a good side, like you beautifully described, but I think there would also be the disagreements that happen and the arguments. Yes. Have you guys had such? And have there been times where, had it ever gotten to a point where it escalated from, or you guys took it home from the office with you guys and maybe didn't speak for a while?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Of course, there are always agreement, escalation. Sometimes home will spill into the office will spill into the home. There were points it was really tough where it had significant impact. But I guess because we have first of all, such strong feelings for each other. We respect each other a lot, and we were committed to. We both had an agreement, and were committed to the dream.
Okay.
And each person was able to find their own space within the company. We tried as much as possible so that we were not encroaching, and each person had a way to express themselves. So that really helped. And of course, we've grown through the years. Things are really great now. I remember there were periods that it was quite frustrating, and mostly around how to administer things, taking decisions and all of that. Yeah, so those things will always come. But for me, it's about one understanding each other. If the goal is clear and everybody is aligned, there may always be agreement on how to get to the goal. But then compromises need to be made. Also, a lot of communication so that you're understanding exactly the person's perspective. Sometimes it's just because we're talking from different perspectives. So I've had different experiences. She has different experiences. So approaching the same issue, we're approaching the same issue from different angles, but at the end of the day, we want the same thing. So we've really learned through that process, and working together, it's been.
So you learned it over
bliss.
time, but
Yeah,
initially,
there were issues. I mean, I don't know if you would give me for saying this, although it's nothing much. I mean, there was a point she said she wanted to pull out, and she wanted to do something else. She was not going to work. And I said it's not possible.
Oh.
So if you just stop, just close it, finish. That I'm not going to do this without you. So let's talk about what the issues are. So, we've always been big on, we just talk, and in the midst of that, you find the right mix, the right solutions. Yeah. So there are those times. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
It's tough. So it's tough running a business with your spouse, because it's not just a business relationship. The emotions, come into play. And so you're running two relationships within the relationship, and that poses, a bit of challenge. For there to be sanity, somebody needs to be, mainly like running the show. And how do you now balance that? Balance the home when things happen at home, because just because your husband or you will have disagreements, things happen at home, and then you're supposed to be in the office the next day and together talk about, growing the business when that has not been settled. And it could be vice versa. Things happen in the office and you're not happy with her or she's not happy with you, and you express that, and then you have to go back home. So that, balance could be very.
Okay.
And then I always say it, especially in an environment like Nigeria, when you have a very traditional man that believes that, the wife should be always subservient and, and all of that, it could be a very challenging dynamics to. So I think everybody must really ask themselves what they can tolerate, and does this person look like the kind of person that will be reasonable and understand? So it has to be a lot of, mind searching and being very sure before you engage in, running a business with your wife.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Looking through the years now, would you ascribe your success to your hard work, skills, and talents, or to luck?
Probably both. But truly, I'll say, a good part of luck to it, because there are so many things in this journey that are probably really helped smooth the journey and was just so. Plus, one of the biggest luck is working in the oil and gas, working in Chevron. It provided the funds to play around with. So I had enough to figure out family. I would say I had enough to play around the first 5 years. So, and why did I always say luck? Yes, I mean, getting the job was low because I applied for the job and all of that. And then I was living with my sister in Lagos because I came to look for a job. So I went back to London. Then I got the Coca-Cola job, right? And then my sister had moved from that address. And that was where they sent my employment letter to.
Oh.
No phones, nothing. And by coincidence, right, my sister, after she had moved out from there for like 7 months, said, let me even go and greet this my old neighbors. And it was 2 weeks before then they had dropped the letter. Said, we have been looking for you, because they didn't know where she moved to. I didn't know why she didn't tell them. We have been looking for you. They brought one DHL letter. Look for it. They saw where they put it. When she opened it, it was that we're resuming next week. I was supposed to have done passport. They were taking our passport to the visa office the next week. So she called me, and then I jumped on a car, got to London, picked up the letter, drove straight to Chevron. No, I first had to even do my international passport and everything 2-3 days. So I'm wondering what if she
hadn't returned that day.
They didn't find the letter again. So such things like that. Even traveling out really exposed my mind, made me see what was possible and all of that. So I think it's been a mix of everything. But of course, luck comes, but then you also have to work at it. You have to take advantage of it. And So I'll say both ways.
So generally through the years, what key lessons have you learned now?
Key lessons. People remain the greatest asset. Don't use people. I believe more in working with people than using people. So that's one of the biggest lesson. I think I also mentioned during this session that things usually don't happen. You have to make them happen. Almost like a law of talent. I mean, they probably remain in their constant state except you push them, and that applies to every other thing. So push, effort is always required to make growth and development. Things will not just drop on your laps as it were.
Okay. What do you look forward to now?
I look forward to SoFresh in every city in Nigeria.
Okay.
Every major city in Africa, starting from West Africa. So we're looking at this growth expansion, providing fresh, healthy alternative meals to customers. Africa is our goal. Maybe when the next generation come, they will take it to the world. But let's see what we can do with Africa.
What are 3 things you've changed your mind about in the last few years?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. 3 things you're excited about today.
Today, I'm excited about my family. I'm excited about SoFresh.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 absurd or stupid fun things you like to do.
I'm not sure. I'm a pretty normal person. I don't have. I may be not too interested. I have a very simple life, very like triangle. So I don't do a lot of weird stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you unwind?
How do I unwind? I garden.
Okay.
Garden. I love gardening. I watch sports. And then I play with my kids.
Okay. If you're in my shoes, is there a question I haven't asked you that you would have asked yourself?
You've asked everything. Maybe the question, would you have done this again?
Okay. Would you?
I don't know.
Why not? Why don't you know?
So, I mean, because I asked that myself longer, and it's a very difficult question. So why I don't know, part of the reason is, why I'm not sure is, so even though it's been a rewarding journey, it has also, I think it's taken a bit from me and even from my family. Of course, we've recalibrated, after a while, but there were periods I felt wasn't really worth it. So I'm actually not sure if I would have, given the same circumstance, maybe I would have done it in a different way. Maybe I would be running this myself. Maybe I would have become an investor.
I see.
And not having to deal with this. So I've not been able to answer that question myself.
Okay. What's your advice?
Or maybe not.
What's your advice to listeners, people out there who are, I guess, just starting on their journey or going about living their dreams or wanting to live their dreams?
Yeah. So it's important to really define why you're doing what you're about to do and what is it you're trying to achieve or birth. So I'm talking about, a purpose, a mission. It's not just something, it has to be something that you really think about, because this helps you define exactly what you're doing and helps you continuously, refocus on the journey. So being very deliberate and particular about what you're doing and why you're doing it. I would also say take time to learn. Each industry has its own peculiarities. Understand your business, especially at the beginning. You have to understand it and have to take time to give time to studying and understanding it. Of course, nothing beats experience, and so while before you start, get as much knowledge as possible. While you're running it, continue to get as much knowledge as possible. Being a great baker is not the same thing as running a baking industry, a baking company. Same thing, I love farming, I love gardening. It's not the same thing as having, running a farm as a business. They're two worlds apart. So, understanding that difference and, bridging that gap for yourself, it's important. Also understand that it's all about people running a business. So I tell my staff when they say that SoFresh customer service is good, they're actually talking about Jide that served them. But they will usually not say, especially if they don't know the name. So at the end of the business is people, and if you really want to go far with business, you have to understand the power of people, power of partnerships in running a business. It always has to be collaborative with your people.
Okay. Who would you like me to interview next?
You can talk to Ayo, Food Pro. So they do lion cashew.
Okay.
You know lion cashews?
No, I don't.
They do lion cashew. So they do for retail and they also export. So Food Pro, Ayo, Afyong, real fruits.
Okay.
You know Afyong?
Yeah, I do.
Real fruit.
That's Olagoke Balogun, the co-founder and CEO of SoFresh, Nigeria's pioneer and number one healthy food chain. Thank you for listening to our show this week. If you liked it, do leave us a review, a comment, and share with your friends. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend and to tell another friend. We would also love to read from you, so please do send us a tweet or leave a comment on Instagram at OriginsAF. You can also write to us at originsafricapodcast@gmail.com. Remember, do subscribe at wherever you get your podcast: Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, amongst others. Catch our 1-to-1 newsletter where we share with you one lesson, 2 quotes, and 1 question from each episode published. You'll find it at originsafrica.substack.com. originsafrica.substack.com. And of course, if you like it, please click the like button, leave a comment, share with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe. Join us on Friday as we release a bonus episode celebrating the life of Olariwaju Fasasi, whom we popularly called Sound Sultan. He was a rapper, singer, songwriter, actor, comedian, recording artist, and many more. I'm Oshaya, and you've been listening to Origins Africa Podcast. Bye for now.
My father told me life is not a bitter